Do they see us and hear us?
Hello, so we're live now with Digital Vino again today. So my guest is the very famous Susanna Gold from New York.
Famous in my home.
So basically, we will just be talking a bit in general about who she is, what she does, and what we think about Italian wine and so forth. As usual, if you want to ask questions, try and do them on all the pages like Grape Wine Adventures or Wines with a Livestream. If you do them on my personal page, I might not see them immediately. And for the rest, just feel free to introduce yourself and say hello. So welcome, Susanna. Do you want to talk a bit about who you are and what you did before, where you come from?
Of course. So thank you for this opportunity to talk about me. So usually I'm always asking people about them. So I'm Susanna Gold. I have a long passion for Italy that started when I was about 20, and a long passion for wine that started when I was about 15, because my dad made wine in the basement with my Sicilian neighbor. And so I've kind of had wine in my life forever, even though I like to think I'm Italian, but I'm not. So wine has really been part of my life. And all the years, I lived in Italy for 15 years. And during that time, I studied wine. And it's really when when I moved home back to the United States, that I actually began working in wine. And I created my company, which is called Vigneto Communications. And I feel sort of like I span a bunch of different worlds, and the one that I feel happiest in is always when I'm presenting wines of Italy, whether it's doing a webinar or a masterclass or just talking about Italian wines, because it's a huge passion of my life. So I feel very happy doing that. I also have a blog called Avinare, which, as we know, means to swirl wine in your glass and prepare your glass to receive things. And I write my blog, I write some articles too, and I also promote wines from Italy and other parts of the world in the United States. And yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell, but that is not how I started. I was a financial journalist when I lived in Italy. I do everything backwards. Like, I work in Italian wine when I'm in the United States, and I work in finance when I'm in Italy. But anyway, so that's the long and the short of it. And of course, as you'll see, probably I'm a mom of a little kid who's going to come traipsing in a few minutes, as he does during master classes often, and kind of throws me off. So, you got to be quick on your feet.
Yeah, that's true. So I know, as you just told me, that you kind of also have a communication agency. So that you opened when you moved back to the US. So what was the biggest challenges? I mean, how did you?
What are my biggest challenges? Let's say that in the present tense. What are, not past. I mean, even are before COVID. So are during COVID has made it much harder. The biggest challenge I have found, to be honest, is I have a very small agency. And so it's people are usually looking for bigger agencies, even though I don't know that bigger agencies necessarily do a better job. But that's been a real kind of, it's been a hurdle, because people think that you have to have a big agency to do the job. But then I find you get kind of the junior person working on your account rather than necessarily the senior person working on your account. But that's been a big challenge. I've also found there is still a little bit of a challenge in terms of being a female. People tend to like to work with companies led by men, even though most communications companies in the United States, in our sector certainly, are run by women. The ones that are the largest are run by men. And so I feel that there is certainly still something about that. Other than that, I'm trying to think of what my other challenge. Well, now the big challenge is, how are we evolving, right, in terms of wine tastings? And will we go back to large tastings, or will we not? Will people want to do classes in person? Will people want to walk around tastings in person? And by people, I mean both the attendees, so journalists or consumers, and producers. Do producers want to fly and stand next to each other at a 10 by 10 with Americans, just Americans, because we're in America? I'm not saying that Americans are any worse than any other nation. Spitting. I mean, I think that the spitting is the big issue now as well. You know,
Well, also to kind of
yeah.
exchange, perhaps, all these glasses together, and
Yes, and
sometimes you didn't know if you had your glass,
right, yes. Did I put down my glass? Did I, I mean,
yeah,
and just, but the spitting to me is the biggest thing, so it's
yeah,
the amount of wines. And also, well, I was talking to somebody this morning about this. So alcohol, alcohol in your breath kind of magnifies your breath. So I feel like it like pushes it even farther into the room. So I think that, there's a lot that we have to think about and contend with now. I mean, there are agencies and people who are going to events in New York. They've just started again. And I
mm,
really miss events. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I would be right now, or I would have been a month ago in Tuscany with you, like meeting you at the corner outside at Leopold and be like, ciao, Caterina, and talking and excited and, have drunk like 12, million, or not drunk, but tasted 12 million Chiantis and been really happy, and then talking about to taste more Lino. So, it's not that I don't miss that. I do. I'm just wary of what will happen. What will it be like in the future? The last time I did an in-person event was a year ago. I did a tasting at Total Wine for a producer I work with, and there were 40 people in the room, and COVID was already in the States. And I remember feeling like,
mm,
should I be here? Should we all be doing this? And they didn't seem the slightest bit worried at the time.
no,
Because it wasn't in their state, but it was in my state. It was in New York,
mm,
and I was in Maryland. But I don't know. We'll see. And also the buffets, right? So one of the lovely parts of any of these wine tasting are these great cheeses you get to taste, and Marcona almonds or whatever you pick up, or prosciutto. Will I be eating from a buffet again? Right?
no. I mean, that's also my concern. I mean, because I still see that people put out like bread and stuff, and I try to not take as far as possible, but during a tasting, it's also difficult to not kind of every now and then.
Well, and also to not feel relaxed. I mean, one of the
Mm,
wonderful parts of our business is meeting people from other countries. It's the global nature of our business, and how wine links everyone together, right? And how
yeah,
we all meet each other. And I have friends in Poland. I have friends in Norway. I have friends from Sweden. I have, lots of friends around the globe that I know through the wine business that I
yeah,
don't get to see except at a big international event, a press trip or an anteprima. And, to be afraid of sitting on a bus with people from 50 countries is really awful. I mean, I just thinking about like being on a bus with loads of people was fun.
yeah.
It was fun. I mean, it was fun. It was like, what a wonderful opportunity to meet people from all over the world and to taste wine, and to you might not share experiences or background, but you share a love of wine. And not that we won't
Yeah.
still share that, not that we don't share that digitally, but it is a different experience digitally than in person. I mean, we can pretend it's not, but it is, right?
No, for sure. I mean, it is. I mean, the few events I've managed to go to now, it's. I mean, also I was in Puglia like 2 weeks ago, and it felt like something totally out of this world. I mean, it
Right.
was very kind of energizing, but you were so not used
Right.
to
I
being
can
around
imagine. I mean, it
people.
must have felt like the before times, like you see those movies when people come out of the cave and it's like they look around and the world is still there, like those bombed out American movies where it's like, like burned earth, and you look out and people are like, look, it's the sun. I could just, I could see it. And I think
Yeah.
I would feel that way if I were at a tasting, like at a big tasting event right now.
No, it was organized very well. I mean, they had really thought about distances and everything, and we were very few. We were only like 10 people, of course, and so it was organized very well, and they were kind of we were divided in different small B&Bs. So
Oh yeah, no, I don't mean that I think that somebody's organizing it poorly. I just
no,
mean
no,
how
no,
I
but
would feel
that's
about it. Like, I would feel nervous because I've gotten unused to it, right?
no, that is true. That is true. I went to Naples also in mid-February because when they were yellow, they managed to do a lunch, and then I felt like that. I felt like I was sitting and I didn't know what to say to people because I didn't.
Right.
It felt like I had nothing to say, but also I wasn't used to kind
Yeah.
of
No, I mean,
interact.
I'm a little concerned about that. Like getting used to being around people you don't know anymore, things like that. So I think that's a challenge that not necessarily I'm just facing, that we're all facing,
I think it's
they think, all businesses. And of course, then there's what will happen with restaurants, right?
Yeah, that is probably the biggest thing, because wineries still have their outdoor, and they can still kind of,
Right.
it's still a product they produce that they can sell anyway, but
Right. No, it's that's a real concern to me, and also just from let's say a smaller producer's view. Big brands have been doing well actually during this
yeah.
pandemic, because everybody, myself included, is drinking like way more than they used to, right? And I was answering a doctor like, "How many times a week do you have a glass of wine?" I said, every day. So it's everyone's drinking more, but a lot of big brands are doing incredibly well. Like, there were statistics from wine.com. I think they were up some unbelievable amount, like, 320, revenues were $320 million last year. Like, just incredible increase in sales. And there are lots of other smaller platforms, but will smaller producers who already had trouble be able to get
But
into any
that's
of
the
these
question,
channels?
because obviously if they open an e-commerce, it will not help them that much, because they would need to do also marketing. Nobody's just going to show up and
Right.
buy. They don't know who you
No.
are. They're
Right.
trying to...
No, they have to do marketing. They have to come up with, it's the logistics and the logistics of the cola waiver ideas, and how to get your wine into the United States legally, how you get your wine into the United States into, a smaller venue, and the cost for you. And then, of course, it's the cost also if we want to do a tasting with journalists, let's say. It's hard to get the wine to them. It's expensive. And if the wine isn't on the shelves in a wine shop where a journalist who writes about it could talk about it and then sell it, that would help the producer to sell their wine, to sort of close the chain of why they're doing this, has become a little bit harder than it was in the past, because the sales channels are smaller. So I think smaller producers this is a hard time for a smaller producer, right?
But I also noticed there, a lot of, some of the really well organized, even if they're smaller, but kind of probably perhaps have researched and have a good for shipment. They also perhaps have managed to get lower costs, because I realize that there's a huge difference in costs, even if you manage to send legally through these channels.
Mm-hmm.
Because of a lot of wineries, small as I know, but it would cost me too much, because this. And then I realized that it depends probably also where you live or where you're located, and
right. Right.
So a lot of probably being close to Florence is better than being, I don't know, in Grosseto or.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, of course. It's all of those things. I think people are looking at each different kind of aspect of that. So the cost of the bottles, these heavy bottles, the cost of shipping, you're shipping, the logistics, the importer, then the importer selling. So many importers, small importers, friends of mine, 90% of their business was restaurants.
Yeah.
So that, then you realize what your business model is not okay, because it can't just be restaurants, because look what's happened to restaurants, right? So now it's harder to then move into retail. But there's just such a whole kind of rethinking of everything, and my part of the business is also rethinking everything too. I was talking to an Italian PR agency this morning about what they're doing and what they're not doing, and it's a tough time in the market, I find. What do you think of the small bottles? Because that's the new thing that I think is really interesting.
I think it could be good for smaller wineries.
I think so
it could be a way to. One of the wineries I helped, they will start with it now.
Good.
Because I think it's also good when you want to reach out, like of course, we want to now to journalists or perhaps importers.
Yeah.
Because it's very expensive to send.
Absolutely. And you know what else? It's not only is it expensive, but they don't need to, they don't need to, you don't need it. It doesn't, I did this Valpolicella Anteprima event, the digital conference, and it was great. They sent 12 little, they sent 18. They sent 18 little bottles. They were, I think, 20 CLs or MLs. 20 ml, so small. And some people complained about the size. I thought the size was fine. It was about 2 or 3 sips, which was fine. I didn't need to taste more to do what I was doing at that time. I wasn't drinking the wine. I was tasting the wine, right?
Yeah, but
We were
anyway, at
talking
home you
about the
can't
wine.
drink all the bottles. If you would have like them send you 18 bottles, what would I do? I mean, I
No,
would.
of course. I mean, even if you have a Corvin, which I just broke mine this morning.
I don't
Uh,
use that because I prefer to. I
I
don't
did.
have it yet.
Yeah, I bought it last summer and I was afraid of it. And then I started using it because I was doing some tastings and I had 11 bottles of wine open. And I don't have people to drink 11 bottles of wine at the same time. So I started to use it and then I broke my needle. So I have to fix it. But it is actually, I don't make any money from them. But I think it's a good investment if you have the occasion to get one.
No, I'm thinking
People
about it.
talk about does it change the quality of the wine?
No,
How
no.
long can you really use it open? And of course, because we're wine people, it's like you use it to get a little tiny sip, and then by the end of how much you've drunk it, you should just open the bottle. But I don't
Yeah.
know. Anyway, that aside, I'm very pro these small bottles for journalists, for importers. I think they're great. I mean, if you want a little
No, I think
bigger,
it will be good also. I mean, now the cost is a bit high, and there's also, I think, a little bit uncertainty who are good and
right,
who are not good, and
right.
which
And are they,
model.
exactly like variety, are they correct? Do they add anything to the? But
Mm,
I thought the ones that I tried from Valpolicella were fantastic. You
mm,
can't do it for sparkling wines, so, that's out for a Prosecco
mm.
producer. But
Yeah.
I just thought I was really impressed. I was impressed with the whole package they sent, tasting mats. I mean, I thought that was a great event. I loved the way they did it. So I'm very pro the small bottles for journalists.
No, I think it's going to be good also. I mean, I know that some of them have, I mean, some smaller ones I talked to for this, it's a bit expensive still, but I guess if you weigh the cost towards sending bottles for free,
Right.
it's probably going to be more
Yeah,
cost effective.
I think so. Also, you can send it to more people because, you can get,
Yeah.
I don't know how many sips for these, from a bottle of wine, but you can get a lot more from it than,
Yeah.
so you can reach out to more people is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that I see some consortium are doing that. I like the fact that people are doing that, and I think that's a wave of the future. And of course, it's one of the fun things about right now is that a lot of producers are showing you what's going on in the vineyard, because when you're over here in America, you don't know what's happening in an Italian vineyard, and you can't go walk in the vineyard. And maybe you don't work in the wine industry, but you just love wine. It's fun to see people
Yeah.
in the vineyard. It's fun to see bud break. It's fun
Yeah.
to know that the producer I was talking to earlier, Sara Vezza, was about to go out with her headlamp to go get caterpillars off of her buds in Piedmont. Like, that's interesting to me. I want to know that. I wouldn't know that if it weren't for technology. So,
No, that's true.
it's great. And
No.
you were an early adapter of digital technology, and you've been doing this for a long time. I was not. So, the fact that it pushed me into doing IGTV chats all the time and other things is just a sign of how far along all of this stuff has come. I am never
Well,
the early adapter, I must say, of any of this. But I
well,
was
I
an
think
early adapter of being interested in women in wine and Italian indigenous varieties. That I was, but the technology, no.
no, I probably more technology and varieties, but the women in wine not so much. Try to keep away from that.
No, it's a big topic. I've been interested in it for a long time, actually. Yeah, because I was a financial journalist when I lived in Italy, and I went to graduate school in Bologna, which I don't know if I told you when you told me you lived in Bologna. Did you know I lived in Bologna too?
Yeah, you told me, I
I
think.
told you. Yeah, I lived in Via Belmaloro. No, my school was in Via Belmaloro. I lived in Via Mazzotta, maybe. I don't remember now.
Okay. No, I
You
don't
know,
remember the
like,
school
yeah.
either.
Anyway, so I lived in Bologna, and then I started studying wine when I lived in Milan, because I remember I ran into someone who told me that Milan was nice, but it was near Italy. I mean, she was British, and she had known me from when I lived in Florence, and she was like, "Oh, that's a different Italy than the Milanese Italy." And I was like, "What exactly do you mean?" But then I understood what she meant later. So I started to study wine because I wanted to kind of visit Italy, even though I was living in the northern capital, I wanted to feel like I was traveling through Italy. So every time I would go to my wine class and we'd talk about a different region, I would, feel like I was traveling and learning Italy in different ways. So I felt like I told them a lot. I remember I ran into someone who told me the most. So that was exciting to me.
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean that was also for me in the beginning to understand that the differences between regions and the mentalities is truly different. So Tina Mori, she was commenting on my personal page, so she's listening.
She's fun. I've done a lot of nice things with Wine Studio with her.
Yeah.
She's was very very on point about things and very kind of a professional way of looking at the kinds of questions that people want to know and getting you to get yourself organized. So I did 2 different months with her. I did one with a Prosecco client that I was working with and another one with Lugano, the consortium I work with. And it was great. I mean, I met a lot of people. I learned a lot. She was like, you have to use TweetDeck. And in fact, it was thanks to her that I started to finally use TweetDeck, even though I knew about it for years and years and years. So I was like, okay. So someone's always pushing me into technology.
Yeah, I realized that I always tagged you, but you never replied to anything. So.
You do always tag me. I rarely reply to things, but I'm trying to get better at it. I'm trying to get better at it.
I tag a lot of people, so it doesn't really matter. It's just, to make people aware of things also, so it's not.
No, I'm glad you tagged me. I don't know. I think I have fear of technology or some weird thing. I don't know what it is. It's like I'm in the middle of building my son's bunk bed, and I built half of it, and then I'm like, okay, I need to wait and take a break. Or I bought a ring light, and I haven't set up my ring light yet. All that kind of stuff. I have to get over the hump about those things. But so
I
in terms of
it broke, so I don't use it any longer. I think
the ring light, did you like it?
I think it's good, but it's not essential. I mean, it depends how I mean, okay, I do my live streams mostly because I want to communicate something. Mm-hmm. So obviously I shouldn't sit in the dark or something, but I think also that as I don't really, I don't get payment from anyone. So I mean, if you take it to that level, then you would have to be more professional also. But I think it's not always needed unless you really are in a dark room or.
In a dark room, yes.
But then
metaphorically speaking, or in reality.
What?
Metaphorically speaking, in a dark room, or in reality.
No, I mean, if it would be like pitch dark here, I mean, of course.
I know it's not pitch dark in where you are.
I didn't have any lighting. So Eddie is here. He's also having. He just opened like a platform last autumn for Food Network. He's a cool guy. He was my guest last year on this live stream.
That's fun. What kind of a platform?
I think it's Rebel Vino, but I think it's for both wine and food, so you can kind of interact and write things and have. Okay, thank you. He's always very.
You are a pro. It is true. You are a pro. I remember. I think I was such a neophyte that I had no idea what a pro you were until I started to do some things, and I was like, oh, I could learn something from her. And I do try to come onto your classes. It's just. You do them on at weird times when people who have little kids.
But I'm not really a pro. I just started very early and kind of did tried everything. So right. I started trying like in 2015 when everybody else in the social media in the US started trying. So I just kind of learned as I saw what people were doing. So I don't really for
food and beverage.
Food and beverage.
Yeah.
And what did I want to ask? So how do you see, we talked a bit about the pandemic now, but how do you see, which are the big differences between Italy and the US on communication in this moment? How do you see the possibilities and the difficulties?
With the pandemic or for the wine, in the wine world? Do you mean in general in the pandemic or do you mean the wine world?
No, wine world mostly, but also.
So what I see is, there are some producers in Italy who are very active. who really have gotten their act together and are on all kinds of social media channels and doing a lot of stuff. And some of those are the big producers who have agencies behind them, who have, contacts with the Spectator or the Enthusiast or other big platforms. You got to lean in. Then I see other smaller producers who have to up their game, and some smaller producers are very good at social media and have been really using it for a long time. So it's just an extension of what they're doing, and I feel like people of all parts of the industry in America and in Italy are being pushed. Everyone's being pushed in the same direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there are some people that are resisting it because they don't want to do it, and there are other people who are trying to get involved, even if they're not great at it. They're trying, and then there are some people who have been doing it like you for a longer time, and so this is just they're way ahead of their game about it. I work with a producer who, Ilaria Petito from Donna Chiara in Campania. She's great at social media, and she's always been great at social media. She's pretty, she's open, she's fun, she's, really into it. And she and her companion have launched a whole new line. He's on social media constantly. He's, he was an actor. He loves it. So he's,
Now there are a couple in Campania who are fairly good. I mean,
yeah, he's really,
he and also Massimo Alua, they're fairly good. It's his wife who does the social media, I think.
Right. And he's also been very active forever. I mean, I know his wines he sells in Minnesota. I mean, I know Jeff Burrows, who's from Minnesota, writes about his wines all the time. And we've talked about Pellegrino Nero and, and he likes Casavecchia. And it's just interesting that, you find these producers and bloggers and journalists who know these producers. I mean, Minnesota is really far away from Caserta, right? So it's interesting.
But I mean, Alua also have another company behind them, so they're very good entrepreneurs, people. They're not only having a winery, but they have like a successful business behind them.
Well, that's a whole other. That's another.
So I think it's also because of that they're not only.
Yes, and that's the same thing with other producers that I have seen who are very ahead of the game.
A lot of people are very good, but sometimes I think there lacks a bit of strategy. I mean, they don't have.
Yes.
I mean, some things they could do less, and some things they could do. I mean, I don't say because I don't see. It's good that they do, but sometimes. I still think that there's kind of a fear of asking for help. And still, when they ask for help, they ask for someone very local who might have more an Italian local view.
Right.
But it's not perhaps suitable if they want to reach a more international audience.
Well, apart from that, everybody should hire you and I together. Apart from that, we can just say that right out. Apart from that, and of course Tina. But
no, I wasn't saying it because.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking with you. No, I'm joking with you. I think there just communications in general have never been considered like the top of mind for so many people, and I think that's a problem. And also, when business is bad, people cut communication before everything else, right? Or you think you can do it on your own when maybe or your kid can do it, or someone else can do it. None of that's necessarily true, but I think there's that kind of thinking. But also maybe you need to, or one could do a master class about each of the different social media channels, and how one could interact on each different social media channel. Like on TikTok, this is what people are looking for. On YouTube, people are looking for this. On Instagram, people. And also the technology. I mean, what I find, I'm about to launch a podcast, and what I find is, one of the things that makes me stop before I do something is not my child. It's the idea of what technology am I supposed to be using. So I think, there's kind of out there about thinking about what are the podcast platforms, just like to stay in the podcasting world. what is StreamYard? What do you use? You know, all those kinds of questions. How do you launch if you had an idea that you want to do something, how do you launch it? And I think that
No,
a lot of
that's cool.
Italians don't necessarily know any of that. I'm in the middle of taking a digital storytelling fundraising class at NYU. And she's going through all of these different channels for a different audience, like for non-for-profits, but the channels are the same, right?
Yeah.
And how do you use them? So I think that there's a lack of knowledge both in America and in Italy about the channels that one uses and how to
But you
use
know
them.
why I think the big problem here is that, at least for Italy, it's the huge problem, is that you look in your own small world, but you don't want to take in someone who actually knows what they're doing. So I don't say, because, you know, it's also for me when I'm in the translator sector, where I also still am doing translations, because they're
Sure.
even more have a fear of a world that is not made up of translators. So
Right.
in the wine world it's a bit less, but I see it's still a tendency. So when they need to learn something or do something, they go to someone who is in wine or who is a translator. But obviously, if I am making wine, I might know some of the tools because I studied for myself, but I wouldn't be an expert. So then you would have to go to someone who knows what they're doing. Like, I don't know, also in the US, like one of these social media thought leaders or marketers who actually know, you know, how to do it. But I think that often there's a fear that either they wouldn't understand the wine business, or that they would be too expensive. But I think also, like with us, there's different categories. So
Right. Yeah. I think there's, different categories. And also now everybody is everything, right?
yeah,
Everybody is a digital marketer. Everyone is a social media guru. Everyone, I have myself. It's like I'll click on, oh, sure, $25. I'll learn my
yeah.
Instagram strategy for this. It's like I've spent so many
No, that's
little
true.
amounts of money. I've bought social media
No, it's true.
calendars.
It's difficult to know also. Yeah.
Difficult to know. And it's also, you don't necessarily want to, a producer may not have a huge budget to invest.
No, that's true.
So I think
No,
that
that's
I think that's a problem. And I think that's a problem across the board now. And
yeah.
now that let's say we have Clubhouse, right? This new platform where
Which
people
is also very exclusive, which I don't like, because it's
yeah,
like,
it's
okay,
exclusive, but it's not, because it's like, you get, yes, it's exclusive also because at the moment it's, my handles are at Vigneto Comm on Twitter and comms with an S on Instagram at the bottom of right where my name is. Thanks for asking, Eddie. And please type in yours and I will write them down the old fashioned way with a pencil. And there is,
I gave it in the comments.
yeah, thank you. And it's just, it's a strange time. I think there's a lot. Thank you. There's a lot that goes on now, and I think
No, for
I don't
sure.
know how long the pandemic. I think everything's changed forever now. Like, even if we go back to in-person tastings, online and social media and all of this technology that we use, we're not going to go back, right? So I think everybody is kind of pushed in that direction. Here in the States, whereas in Italy, people might be still reticent about using things. I think the problem in the States is trying to figure out who really can help you and in
Yeah,
what way can they help you, because there's so much of it. If you think about it, every sommelier is out of work, basically. So everybody's now doing virtual tastings. Everybody's a wine educator. Everybody's a social
yeah,
media
that's also the problem. Like,
strategist.
everybody's doing live streams now. Everybody, like,
Everybody.
morning, noon, evening. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
not everyone are like yours, where you actually give, information about, you learn something, because otherwise there's no.
Well, I hope people learn things, but and not everybody wants to learn. Some people want to be distracted. Some people want
That's
fun.
true.
People want different things. So there's just so much now that kind of cutting through what each person is good at or can offer you is hard, I think, right now.
Yeah, no, it's difficult because there's so many. So I
Right.
mean, all of them wants to, of course, say that they're like, the communicator to choose, or the marketer to choose, or the
Yeah,
taster to choose.
I
And
know. It's very it's a complicated time. There's
I
so
basically
much
say in silence,
competition.
because I don't like to be in the part of you saying, like,
Right.
I don't know. I have to figure out something more.
I think you asked a question which I'm going to give you an answer for, which is, or well, I don't know if you asked this question, but when I got my ICE certificate, which my Italian sommelier degree in Milan, it was 2004, and I was a financial journalist, and then I worked in financial PR. So I had a PR background at the time, and I went to a very well-known Piedmontese producer, Nizza, at the time, and I said I would like, I wrote them a letter that I would like to do PR for their company. I never told you this story, did I? No. Okay. So that I would like to do PR for their company, and I have the diploma, I'm a sommelier, blah blah. And I got back a scathing note about how no American could ever communicate Italian wine. How dare I think that I would be able to communicate Italian wine? And I was like, okay, this is not going well. I don't see a future in this, right? And then, it was George Bush was president. So it got very extreme, the conversation. I was called like a warmonger, and I'm like as democratic as can possibly be. So I was like, you're talking to the wrong lady. But it was a specific time in America. But that kind of, you're an American, you can't represent Italian wine, or you're Swedish, you can't,
But
be
it's
whatever.
still a bit like that. They might not say it directly to your face, but you feel it because they want your help, because I think they realize that we know what we're doing, but at the same time they don't want our help because they want. So in the end, they would kind of, at least it happens to me, they start asking questions or advice, but then in the end they would just take the advice and go to someone who is Italian.
Well, that's why I'm telling you this story, because this producer was like, no way, you're American. No. I was like, okay, even though I'm trying to produce, I'm doing this for Americans. I'm not saying I could do it in Italy. Of course I could, but, I was saying in America. But so, yeah, that was 2005 or 2000. Yeah, I guess that was 2005. So it's been a long time, and I get that. So I've had that experience. I've had that experience. I know what that is. I know what that is. I don't get it so much here because I'm in America, and they, they're like, okay, you speak. I get the other, like, oh, you speak Italian, so that's good because you can speak to Americans.
I have a bit from both. I don't say it's a problem because I do my own thing, but sometimes in the past I felt I had it from both Sweden, like in the other way.
Right.
And, here in Italy, as if I was living in Sweden, so I knew mostly Sweden than here.
Right.
But now they know me better, but in the beginning, because when I was in Sweden, I wasn't doing wine, or I kind of went away also for my PhD. So kind of from the wine community, sometimes I felt like, I wasn't really.
I get that. I get that. Yeah, it's you're a foreigner and you're a woman. It still is an issue. I would like to say it's not, but it still is.
No, it's an issue from both sides, both from women and from men.
Yes. It's anyway.
It's a bit hard to. I think all women experience it, but I don't know how many women who actually are honest about it. So.
I don't know. It's an issue.
Yeah,
it is, and it will continue to be for who knows how long until it. Anyway, so I have found that in the different sides of the industry, whether it's as a journalist or as a PR person, I have felt that, and definitely, I just never forgot that producer who was like, "You are a guerrafondaia," which means a warmongering person. I was like, okay, this is going well. I can see my future at this company, But anyway, but I've had a lot of amazing experiences, and I can't tell you how much I miss being in Italy with producers in the vineyard and going to events and hanging out, just seeing friends, really a lot. And I'm very happy that they canceled Vinitaly. I don't know, what do you think? Not surprised.
No, I thought it was a given deal. I was just thought that they would still wait a bit longer to do it, but I guess they had so much critique now that.
You thought they would wait a bit longer? That's interesting.
Yeah, I think they would wait to keep up their image, to try, make sure that. I'm not going to say too much here, but I
I understand what you're saying. You don't have to say it. I know what you're saying.
No.
So because I saw that Vini canceled yesterday. So it was interesting. I read that in Wine News, and then I thought, oh, Vinitaly will be canceled too, because they can't keep going. I'm glad that it's canceled for two reasons. One, for producers, because I don't think they should go. I don't think it's safe yet. And two, selfishly for me, because I wouldn't be going, and it would be my first non-Vinitaly year, and it would kill me to not be going and know what's going on. Like, I would just hate it.
Even if they would have done it, which I think they would never have been able to do it anyway, because it would be too risky. I don't think I would have been going, because I wouldn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird. It's like, I'm thinking about April of 2022. It's a long time away. It's a really long time away.
It is a long time away.
Yeah, it's a long time away. I didn't get the invitation for the Anteprime Toscane. I think I may be getting it, but I just not sure that I'm going to. I have a little kid. I mean, I got vaccinated. I'm very lucky, and I got it. I had it about a month ago, and so I feel really lucky. But I'm still living in a pretty quarantined life. Not.
Yeah, I mean, of course you're safer, but it's not the guarantee, So.
No, it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee at all. And so it's just it's a strange time. So I guess I was thinking this morning about, if you think like the arc of the next year, let's say, until Vinitaly, which is the traguardo, like it's the arrival point. Like, what's going to happen in the wine world? Like, what are we gonna be doing for the next year and a half? Will we be doing tastings? What kind of tastings will we be doing? And so I have some ideas.
Big questions, no? Because I don't know. There were a lot of discussions now. I saw in some articles about events like Vinitaly. If probably have to drastically change how they do things, because I don't know. It also depends much on this year how things go. If people will really want to go to.
Yes, I read that article. You mean in Wine Searcher that Tom Hyland wrote? That one?
No, it was another article, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that fairs are a thing of the past. I don't. I think that they're not 100% things of the past. I think people will want to go back. I don't know how many people will want to go back. I don't know in what way they'll want to go back. And here's my son. Have you met my son yet?
No, I've seen him on.
Yeah. This is my son, Niccolo. Of course, he can't hear you because I'm wearing headphones. I'm wearing headphones. She can't hear you. Okay. But if I take off my headphones, I think Poppy's going to make noise. So I'm going to leave them on.
Yeah, well, we can hear him. We can hear him.
Okay, but you can hear him?
Yeah.
Okay. Then maybe my headphones aren't working. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No. No, you can't. I can't hear you. But she can hear you. Oh, that's good. We're talking about wine. Do you have anything you want to say? Anything you want to add about the wine business? I just wanted to say hello, but you just wanted to say hello. You want to add something about wine? I don't know. Feel free to. You want to come and sit? Want to tell them about when we make wine in the basement? Come. So we make wine together, as I said.
In the basement.
Yes. We make it in the outside. So we make wine together, and we bottle the wine. And he says it's like mommy takes a shower in wine, because I bottle the wine. I have my little corker.
Adorable, says Tina.
Thanks. And yeah, he is pretty adorable, I must say. And so we make wine, and it's fun when he comes to watch the grapes being pressed with me and stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So maybe he'll be a winemaker someday.
For sure. Perhaps a winery in Italy. I don't know.
I was gonna say perhaps a winery. I know you can't hear, honey. Okay. Can you hear now? Yes.
Yes, now I can hear you.
Sorry.
Okay, so I think we talked about a lot. Is there something else you think you want to tell about yourself, or any? I don't know. Which is your favorite grape? I always ask them.
Favorite grape, I must say, Sangiovese.
Yeah.
Sangiovese is my favorite grape. It has always been my favorite grape. Florence is my favorite city in the whole world. I mean, I love Rome. I loved living in Milan. I loved living in Bologna. But I have a real space in my heart. And oh, right. So Niccolo loves Venice. I took him every year except this year. I take him to Italy for a long time. And last year we spent 3 weeks in the Veneto, and we spent 10 days in Venice, and he just loved it, which is really
Yeah,
sweet.
I remember I saw the photos, I think, when you were traveling around.
Yeah, we loved it. We loved it. We had a great time, and I love the fact that he loved it. So yeah, it was great. And we actually stayed on Murano. We rented a hotel. We stayed in a hotel on Murano, and it was amazing because it was like the real Venice, like old Venice. You know, at night, it was great.
Yeah.
Adriatico IGT Stilvats is your favorite.
It was a wrong message. Sorry.
Okay.
I wanted to show that.
I do like Aglianico a lot. I don't know. It's hard to say your. Don't put your fingers in your ears. It's hard to say what your favorite grape is, but you know what your favorite. You didn't ask me my favorite wine, so my favorite grape is Sangiovese.
Yeah. No, your favorite wine. I don't know. Which is your favorite wine?
Oh, I don't have a favorite wine. I like so many wines and different occasions and so many producers, and I love Italian grapes. I mean, I just find it endlessly interesting. I really do.
So this is what I wanted to share.
Yes, thank you. Sangiovese is my favorite grape. Yes, both. I love the. Thank you.
Eddie says he's already
an international traveler. Yes, he is. He's an international traveler. I make him take Italian twice a week since he's 15 months old. Poor kid. So yeah. Anyway.
That's good. He's prepared for when he's going.
Getting prepared for later. I always tell him when he's 15, he'll be really happy.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
Well, my nephew also in Germany. He actually also studied Italian because he was born here in Florence. Because
he was born.
My sister-in-law was doing the PhD here at the time. So.
Oh, right. You had said that in the place where you were too, right?
Yeah, she was there before me, and then.
Right. That's great. Yeah. No, it's a beautiful place to live. I would. Niccolo has not spent a lot of time. Well, his name is Niccolo, so obviously Florentine related, right? With two accent. Has not spent enough time yet in Florence, but it's certainly in our future. Certainly in our future. Absolutely.
No, for sure. I mean, it's going to be possible again soon, I guess. So.
I know. I'm really looking forward to that. Actually, it's the longest time I haven't been in Italy in 17 years. Yes, honey.
Mommy, I'll be right back.
Okay, you be right back. Okay.
Okay, so I don't know if Eddie or Tina has any questions for you.
I don't know.
I think we discussed a lot of things. So.
We did, but yeah. Should I stay on after?
Yeah, I'll just I'll just put your I will put your website later on in the comments if anybody wants to check it out.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say in general, I don't really have a guest for next Wednesday because I have a bit of a crazy period, so I might do something in April after Easter instead. But anyway, if anybody wants to be a guest, just write me.
You could have Niccolo. I'm sure he.
Yes, that would be cool.
You could spend an hour. Do you like Spider-Man? You could talk a lot about Spider-Man.
Yeah, that could be cool. Yeah, I don't know that much about Spider-Man, but I know something.
Think about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for this opportunity. And
thank you, Susanna, and thank you to Eddie, Tina, and everybody else who has been listening in. And you can come on, Eddie, and talk about your new platform. That could be cool.
That's a great idea.
Let's talk about it. That sounds good. So if we don't see each other otherwise, happy Easter, and thank you, Susanna, again. Just stay on, and I will just close it down. So have a nice evening. Ciao.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.